Good afternoon, Facebook, YouTube, and Twitter. This is Rich again, back for your second video blog of the day for Wednesday, July 1st, 2015, around 4:12 in the afternoon in Billerica, Massachusetts. Mixed and sun and clouds right now. Temperatures got up to about 80, but we could have some thunder showers later on today. Some news to report. The Toronto Blue Jays beat the Boston Red Sox 11-2. Red Sox won't sweep the Blue Jays. The Vancouver Canucks signed defenseman Matt Balkowski, who played for the Bruins last year. The Pittsburgh Penguins acquired Phil Kessel from the Toronto Maple Leafs. And Kevin Love re-signs a new 5-year, $110 million contract to stay with the Cleveland most famous professional wrestlers who's from Canada. Talking about Bret the Hitman Hart, who's from Calgary, Alberta, Canada. He was a WWE superstar from 1984 through 1997. He's a WWE Hall of Famer. He held the WWE World Tag Team titles twice with his brother-in-law, Jim the Anvil Neidhart, at the Hart Foundation. They had two reigns in 1987 and 1990. Eventually, Bret went to the singles ranks after WrestleMania 7 in 1991 to become Intercontinental Champion twice from August of 1991 through January 1992, and again from April 1992 through August of 1992. Bret had two reigns as WWE Intercontinental Title Champion and 2 times as WWE World Tag Team titles. And around October of 1992, the current WWE Champion at that time was Nature Boy Ric Flair, but Nature Boy Ric Flair suffered an inner ear problem after a house show against the Ultimate Warrior. And the plan was Nature Boy Ric Flair was going to drop the WWE title to the Ultimate Warrior, but this is when the Ultimate Warrior was on the verge of getting fired for the WWE because he flunked the drug test and stuff. And then Vince McMahon and Pat Patterson didn't know who was going to be the next WWE Champion because they had to get Ric Flair off the road because of his inner ear problem. And they had to get it off the title because back then house shows with the WWE Championship was a big time money. They could not have house shows without the champion on them, as the WWE would lose significant money. And Pat and Vince was talking who would be the next WWE Champion. They had 2 choices they were talking about. One was Tito Santana, who was with the WWE for about 10 years, but Tito was like 2-time WWE World Tag Team Champion, 2-time WWE Intercontinental Champion, but like in the early 1990s, he was basically stuck with a gimmick, El Matador Tito Santana, which was basically a jobber to the stars, and the other one was Bret the Hitman Hart. Pat and Vince were deciding which one to go with. They decided it was Bret the Hitman Hart. And Bret the Hitman Hart was informed to report to Vince McMahon's office in a TV taping at Saskatoon, Saskatchewan on October 12th, 1992. And once Bret the Hitman Hart went in there, Vince said that you're going to get the WWE Championship and you're going to be holding the WWE Championship for at least 1 year. And then Bret the Hitman Hart has a match with Nature Boy Ric Flair. He puts Ric Flair in the sharpshooter, and Bret the Hitman Hart becomes WWE Champion for the first time. Afterwards, they have an interview with Mean Gene Okerlund and Bret the Hitman Hart. Bret the Hitman Hart shows the WWE Championship. This interview was played on WWE Superstars, Challenge, All American Wrestling, Wrestling Spotlight, and the international broadcast the next week. Bret saying the biggest dream still could come true, and it was big. Lots of fans were cheering like crazy and stuff. And then Bret holds his first win of WWE Champion was from October 12th, 1992 through April 4th, 1993. Bret faced all comers, including the Berserker and Virgil and Papa Shango and the Mountie. He had a classic match with Shawn Michaels, who was the Intercontinental Champion at the time at Survivor Series 1992. Bret beats Shawn with the sharpshooter. It was a classic match, and afterwards they had Santa Claus come down, and they had snow coming down from the arena at the Litchfield Coliseum in suburban Cleveland. And then Bret continues his reign. He has classic house show matches with Bam Bam Bigelow around December and January of 1993. Bret gets into a feud with Razor Ramon. They have a classic match at Royal Rumble 1993. Bret beats Ramon with the sharpshooter, and Bret's opponent at WrestleMania 9 was Yokozuna, the big 505-pound monster. Yokozuna won the WWE Royal Rumble in 1993, which was the first Royal Rumble where the winner of the Royal Rumble automatically got the title shot at WrestleMania 9. And Bret continued to defend his title into WrestleMania 9 against wrestlers like Samu and Fatu of the Head Shrinkers and others. He had some classic matches with the departing Nature Boy Ric Flair before he left to go back to WCW and house shows in Europe and stuff like that. The original plan for WrestleMania 9 was Bret the Hitman Hart was going to beat Yokozuna with the sharpshooter, and Yokozuna was going to tap out, but this is the time when Hulk Hogan came back to the WWE after disappearing for several months because of the steroid thing, plus he was filming Mr. Nanny and stuff like that, and originally Hogan was going to be in the WWE just to do tag teams with Brutus Barber Beefcake and stuff like that. Brutus Barber Beefcake and Hulk Hogan was supposed to win the WWE Tag Team Championship at WrestleMania 9 against Money Incorporated, but it was a change of plans. Hulk Hogan told on an interview with some European stuff, television and radio, that he says he's going to come to WrestleMania 9 to win the WWE Championship. That was a big shock to everybody what he was saying. Then Hogan goes to Vince McMahon. He says he has a plan. He says have Bret the Hitman Hart lose to Yokozuna when Mr. Fuji throws, and then Hogan would win with his basic Hogan routine. Vince McMahon agreed. Bret was a little pissed about that, but he agreed to that. But Bret had Yokozuna in the sharpshooter when Mr. Fuji throws salt, and Bret goes down. Yokozuna pins him 1, 2, 3. Yokozuna becomes new WWE champion, but Hulk Hogan comes down and protests the match to the referee. He helps Bret Hart to the back, and then Mr. Fuji throws Yokozuna's salt. Hogan bumps Fuji. There's a leg drop, 1, 2, 3. Yokozuna's out, and Hogan's the new WWE champion, winning the King of the Ring at 1993, and then having feud with Jerry the King Lawler, which was pointless because Lawler at the time was a comically heel announcer and also, a big mouth and stuff. That feud went on for several months, and then they were supposed to have a blow-off at Survivor Series 1993 with the Hart family and Jerry the King Lawler and his Knights, but Jerry the King Lawler had legal problems, and this is about the time when Bret the Hitman Hart told Pat Patterson he wanted to do something with Owen Hart, turn Owen Hart heel, and Owen Hart and Bret Hart have a long-running family feud. At first, Pat Patterson refused, saying he wanted Bret and Owen's older brother, Bruce Hart, to be in that role like Owen was, being the jealous brother. But, Bruce at that time was basically out of the wrestling business, and he was not that interested. And finally, Bret and Owen, and Pat agreed to it. It started at Survivor Series 1993 when Owen was the only one to patch things up. They were going after the WWE World Tag Team Championships against the Quebecers at Royal Rumble 1994. Also, Bret and Owen were entered in the Royal Rumble. And the Quebecers beat Owen and Bret because Bret was selling a knee injury and stuff. And Owen was pissed off because Bret was hogging spotlight. Owen kicked Bret's leg in and goes down. And then Owen Hart's a hated heel and stuff. But Bret comes back in the Royal Rumble match, and the final two were Bret and Lex Luger, and both went out simultaneously, and they decided who was going to be the winner. Lex Luger and Bret the Hitman Hart, they had co-winners, but the fans cheered Bret more than Luger. The original plan for WrestleMania 10 was Lex Luger was going to win the WWE Championship. This was to start the journey of the Lex Express was 9.5 months. But the fans got sick of tired of Lex Luger waiting for the championship. It got old after he beat Yokozuna at SummerSlam 1993 by countout, not for the title. And that got old quickly, and the fans didn't want Luger. And so Bret was given the chance to regain the WWE Championship at WrestleMania 10 at Madison Square Garden. But first, Bret the Hitman Hart faced Owen Hart at WrestleMania 10. The opening match at WrestleMania 10 was one of the best opening matches of any pay-per-view for any professional wrestler. Ending of the match, Owen has a victory roll for Bret 1, 2, 3, and Owen beats Bret, biggest win of his life. Later on, Bret the Hitman Hart faces Yokozuna for the WWE Championship. When Yokozuna was going for the banzai drop, he slipped. Bret moved out of the way and he pinned Yokozuna for the 1, 2, 3 till he gained the title for the second time. And then they had all the wrestlers come down, all the face wrestlers, and they had the celebrities, and they had the announcers cheering for Bret the Hitman Hart, winning the title for the second time, WWE Championship. And then Owen Hart was coming down. He was looking disgusted in that stuff. He was jealous because on his best day, Owen Hart's best day, Bret won the title, WWE title, and that was classic. And then Bret the Hitman Hart's second WWE title reign was from March 20th, 1994 through November 23rd, 1994. It was a long title reign. Mostly the second reign of Bret the Hitman Hart was feuding with Owen Hart at house shows across this country. And this house show feud with Bret the Hitman Hart and Owen Hart raised the houses for the WWE house show business. Was doing tremendous. Usually after WrestleMania, the house shows would go dip down in attendance, but this was the first time in years it would go up and up and up and up. This is when the time WWE's business was not the best because of the steroid trial and stuff, plus with WCW signing Hulk Hogan and all the other old WWE superstars from the past. And Bret and Owen had a long-running feud, and Bret the Hitman Hart had a match with Diesel for the WWE Championship at King of the Ring 1994. Diesel was the Intercontinental Champion at that time, and he had Shawn Michaels in his corner, his best friend. And Bret the Hitman Hart had his former tag team partner, Jim the Anvil Neidhart from the Hart Foundation. When Diesel put Bret in the jackknife powerbomb, Diesel won, too, but Anvil clotheslined Diesel, causing the automatic disqualification. Bret lost the match, but he retained the title. But that was a plan, because Jim the Anvil Neidhart later on in the night, in the King of the Ring finals between Owen Hart and Razor Ramon was going for the Razor's Edge, but Owen throws him over the top rope. Jim the Anvil Neidhart comes down and helps out Razor Ramon, but clotheslines him, throws him back in the ring. Owen beats him. 1, 2, 3. Owen Hart becomes the new King of the Ring, King of the Hearts. It was a plan, because Owen and Jim the Anvil Neidhart had that plan so Bret could keep the WWE title, so Owen could have that match at SummerSlam 1994, which was a steel cage match for the WWE title. Before SummerSlam 1994, Bret and Owen have several matches on the house show circuits. Was Iron Man match or marathon matches was so classic and stuff like that. Usually Bret would win with seconds to go, having like several falls and stuff, but Bret would always win because world titles do not change hands on house shows and stuff like that. They can't do that because they need to be on television. And then Bret and Owen have a classic steel cage match at SummerSlam 1994. It was quick. It was probably one of the top 10 cage matches of all time. Bret barely wins because Owen got caught in the cage and Bret comes down. But afterwards, Jim the Anvil Neidhart attacks Bret the Hitman Hart, and they have Davey Boy Smith and the other family members try to rescue Bret because Owen and Jim the Anvil Neidhart lock the cage and stuff like that. And then Bret and Jim the Anvil Neidhart have like a feud at house shows, which that was awful because Jim the Anvil Neidhart wasn't a great wrestler, and that brought the houses down. Around this time, Vince McMahon was looking for the next big Hulk Hogan, and he could not have a face beat Bret for the title, so they had to do Bob Backlund, who snapped at Bret the Hitman Hart at a Superstars several months earlier, put him in the Crossways Chicken Wing and stuff like that, and they made Bob Backlund the next heel, and Bob Backlund and Bret the Hitman Hart was going to have the match at Survivor Series 1994 submission match for the WWE World Title. Bret had British Bulldog Davey Boy Smith in his corner, and Bob Backlund had Owen Hart in his corner. The only way to win was to throw in the towel, and this was a decent match. Owen Hart, like, you know, was chasing the British Bulldog Davey Boy Smith around, but he knocks out Davey Boy Smith by mistake, and Bret is stuck in the crossface tricking ring by Bob Backlund, and Owen pleads to his mother and father, Stu and Howlin' Hart, please, I'm sorry, and then they have like Helen Hart grab the towel and throw it in for Bret's behalf. Bret loses the title to the crossface tricking for Bob Backlund. Bob Backlund goes quiet, and it was a plan all along. Owen Hart laughs afterwards. He cost Bret the Hitman out the title, and that was the second reign. Bret's second reign was over and stuff, but that was the plan, because 3 nights later, Diesel, who became a face, and because Vince McMahon wanted another Hulk Hogan, a monster face, Diesel beat Bob Backlund at Madison Square Garden to win the WWE World Title, and Diesel holds the title for a year. And Bret the Hitman Hart is stuck in mid-card purgatory. He feuds with Owen Hart, and then Jerry the King Lawler, and Hakushi, and Isaac Yankem. And then Diesel was a flop as champion, but a new wrestler was coming who was more popular as Shawn Michaels, but Vince McMahon needed a transitional champion from Big Daddy Cool Diesel to Shawn Michaels, because he was not going to drop the title to Diesel. Diesel wasn't going to drop the title to Shawn Michaels, which that could have been. That was not that great. That would have been, you know, that could have been a good idea. Turn Diesel heel and stuff like that. But Vince wanted to have Bret the Hitman Hart be the transitional champion for WWE, and they have a Survivor Series 1995 match, Diesel against Bret the Hitman Hart, no holds barred. This match, Diesel and Bret the Hitman Hart was so classic. Diesel froze Bret the Hitman Hart through the table and stuff, and then when Diesel's going for the jackknife powerbomb, he shows compassion. Bret gives him this small package for 1, 2, 3. Bret Hart, WWE champion for the 3rd time. Diesel goes crazy, turns tweener, a heel in the process. Bret the Hitman Hart throws him down, but Bret the Hitman Hart did not like being the transitional champion to Shawn Michaels and stuff, and Bret's 3rd reign as WWE champion lasted from November 19th, 1995 to March 31st, 1996, and was a poor title reign because he had only one good match. It was the British Bulldog Davey Boy Smith at In Your House at Bad Blood for holiday beatings and stuff, which was, you know, awful. It was a decent match. It was not as classic as the one in Wembley Stadium, but it was not that great. Bret bled a lot on that match, and Bret was looking weak as champion. During his 3rd title reign, he was facing off against The Undertaker and stuff. It was face versus face, but the fans were more cheering The Undertaker and stuff, and he also had matches with Big Daddy Cool Diesel and stuff, which Diesel, even though he was a tweener, getting more pops than Bret the Hitman Hart. Bret looked very weak. He also had title defenses against Goldust, Tatanka, 1, 2, 3 Kid for his 3rd title win, which was not that great. Bret continued to lose interest in the WWE. This is around the time his contract was up in the fall of 1996. He dropped the belt WWE title for the 3rd time to Shawn Michaels at an Iron Man match at WrestleMania 12, which was pretty good. It was one of the best matches ever. Shawn Michaels beat Bret the Hitman Hart at WrestleMania 12 in overtime as the Iron Man match with the sweet chin music afterwards. Bret the Hitman Hart takes a sabbatical from the WWE, just does international tours. He does some acting and stuff, and this is when the time that WCW was making overturns to Bret the Hitman Hart, but Bret the Hitman Hart signed a 20-year contract with the WWE to stay put. And he was, you know, guaranteed so much money, and then eventually was going to be on the booking committee and a goodwill ambassador. And then eventually, you know, a few months later, Bret was a face and feuding with Stone Cold and other heel wrestlers, but he was getting booed out of the building, and Vince changed his character and stuff to become a heel and stuff. He reforms the Hart Foundation with his brother-in-law's Owen Hart and the British Bulldog, his brother Owen, his brothers-in-law's British Bulldog and Jimmy Anvil Neidhart and Pillman. He briefly had a one-day reign of the WWE champion at like Final Four in your house in February 1997 when he beat Vader, The Undertaker, and Stone Cold Steve Austin, but he dropped the title the next night on Raw to Psycho Sid. He got pissed about that in real life. And then, but the Hitman Hart heel character with the Hart Foundation was so great. They were faces in Canada and everywhere else around the world, but in the United States they were booed like crazy. And then SummerSlam 1997 rolled around. It was Bret the Hitman Hart facing off against The Undertaker at the main event at SummerSlam 1997 with Shawn Michaels, the special guest referee. If Bret lost that match, he wouldn't wrestle anywhere in the United States. I heard the original plan was The Undertaker was going to beat Bret Hart for like SummerSlam 1997 with Shawn Michaels' help and stuff like that, but the plan was, kind of aborted because Bret, the plan was going to be but it was aborted because I heard something Bret was going to come in under a mask and attack every face wrestler, even Vince McMahon and Jim Ross, and eventually there would be somebody trying to reinstate him, and then it would eventually blow up on something. But they did it when like Shawn Michaels interfered like with hitting the Undertaker and stuff with the chair and 1, 2, 3 and taking the heel heat off of Bret the Hitman Hart and putting it on him, and Undertaker's reign was over for WWE Championship. 5th reign for Bret the Hitman Hart. And then for the last 3 months of Bret the Hitman Hart was the 5th and final time he was WWE Champion from August 3rd, 1997 through November 9th, 1997. Bret was basically, he was a heel, but he had awful matches with the Patriot and the Undertaker for the WWE title and stuff. This is when the time Vince McMahon told Bret his contract with the WWE was going to be breached because Vince McMahon was losing money because Ted Turner and WCW was putting out of business, and he told Bret the Hitman Hart to make the best deal for WCW, and then he makes it, but he has 30 days left on his contract. He's sending his notice on November 1st, 1997. And then Bret did not want to drop the title Shawn Michaels in Montreal, Canada at Survivor Series 1997. And this is about the infamous screw job. Vince McMahon was so afraid that Bret would go to WCW with the WWE Championship, and Eric Bischoff probably would tell Bret to drop it in the bucket. Bret would not, said he would have never done that, but Eric Bischoff, if they gave him he had a lot of money and gave him publicity, he would have done it and stuff. And Bret was screwed out of the WWE title by Shawn Michaels and Vince McMahon and Triple H and others and stuff. But I think that was all working well, and Bret loses the WWE title to Shawn Michaels at Survivor Series 1997 with the sharpshooter, and Vince McMahon says ring the fucking bell, and Bret the Hitman Hart spits at Vince and destroys the set and stuff like that. But I think this was a work shoot all along, in my opinion. And in total, Bret held the WWE title 5 times, and all 5 I think the best title reign he had was the second title reign when he had that big feud with Owen Hart, which brought the house shows up. I think that title reign was an A+. His first title reign was like a bunch of new wrestlers and stuff who didn't really deserve to be title contenders, like the Berserker, Papa Shango, and Virgil, and Bam Bam Bigelow, and Shawn Michaels and stuff. That's probably a C. Third title reign, he was just a transitional champion. He was probably another C. Fourth title reign was only a day. I wouldn't count that. And the 5th title reign was, maybe a C+ and stuff. And what do I think of Bret the Hitman Hart as WWE champion? 5 reigns. He's probably one of the best WWE champions of all time. His overall title reigns, in my opinion, are solid B+, mainly because of the second title reign of WWE Championship. The first one was just getting his feet wet, and the subsequent ones, third one was just a transitional one. The 4th one was just a joke one day, and the 5th one was just probably a transitional one for Shawn Michaels to get the belt. I think the original plan, if Bret was not going to get screwed by Vince McMahon, he was going to be dropping the WWE title at WrestleMania 14 to Stone Cold Steve Austin. And Bret the Hitman Hart's in the WWE Hall of Fame and stuff. And he's the best there is, best there was, best there ever will be. And he's patched things up with Vince McMahon. And they had a match at WrestleMania 26. It was a comedy match and stuff, but it was, kind of very, very awful because they had all the other Hart family members. They didn't have, the British Bulldog or Owen Hart, both of them were passed away, and they didn't have Jim the Anvil Neidhart there because Anvil was, he was, he was in trouble with the law, and that was sad. But it would have been good if, like, Bret Owen and Davey Boy were still alive, and Jim the Anvil Neidhart was still alive, and they wrestled Bret the Hitman Hart versus Vince McMahon. If all of them were still alive, because that would have been very, very interesting. And that's about it on Bret the Hitman Hart's 5 WWE title reigns. This was my Canada Day blog, and I hope you enjoy it. My third and final video blog of the night will be my personality profile. Tonight's personality profile is going to start 14 days of personality profiles of celebrities who were associated with the match game, the classic television game show. Either host, announcers, or celebrities. First one will be the host himself for over 20 years for the match game, Mr. Gene Raven. Have a good day, Facebook, YouTube, and Twitter, and keep calm, and I'm a Julie Bratton guy. Bye.